All right, so let's see how we can pivot. What's the right spelling for that? So how can we do some lateral movement over the system and the network using the legitimate tools that are available on the compromised target machine? Yeah, so for this demo to be more a little bit more realistic, I will use the batch file, yeah, the PowerShell batch file that I've created using Veil Evasion framework. You will see the demonstration, the separate demo for antivirus evasion in the section dedicated to social engineering hacking. So you will see in detail how to do that. But in here, we will just focus on using Metasploit in the background and connecting to sessions and seeing what we can do without loading any additional software by using only the CMD shell on the target machine. Okay, so for that, of course, we will use Metasploit framework console. From there, we will just select the universal multi-handler, and we'll use Meterpreter reverse TCP as the payload. And this payload, the stager for this payload, is encoded in this batch file, right? By Veil Evasion, just the wrapper that makes it invisible to most antivirus products. Okay, so here we are. We are still in Symbian shares, right? So this is what save command gives us. We see that the options, some of them at least, that we have set in the previous session are here. So let's go back and use multi-handler, I guess is the right name, right? It doesn't have many options. We have to put payload first here, so let's set payload to Windows Meterpreter. I said Meterpreter. Yeah, autocomplete is really slow because there are a lot of different payloads you can get. So here we will put what's the IP address? We'll put localhost to our IP address, and okay, let's exploit with this -j, right? Run as a context, in the context of a job. Okay, so we have our console here. We can run other handlers on other ports, for example. Okay, so someone is already connecting. Yeah, so the trick is that this payload has been already run on the system. Okay, so it's somewhere here in the task manager, right? Let's find it. It should be run. It should be run somewhere. Yeah, maybe that's it. Okay, so it's a process that is somewhat persistent in memory, and we have to connect to the session that it initiates from the target machine. And you have to imagine that as the payload that you pass to the target machine does not contain all the functionality of Meterpreter. So this message sending stage, right, around 1 megabyte, means that the only thing that is coming back to our machine with MSF running is like the request for further actions, right? So we sending there only the stager, something that will connect back and receive the rest of the code. In this manner, we do a good job avoiding antivirus, first of all, because yeah, still we have to make it really minimal, right? Really small in order to pass through any means of any media of communication we use in order to deliver the payload. But making it this simple, just connect back to a well-known port, not as in this case, but to HTTPS port, for example, and just get something, and we will show you, we will tell you what to do next. Okay, so now we have some sessions running. Yeah, so we see it originates from some desktop Windows operating system, and let's connect to this session by -i. Like, let's make the session interactive, right? And here we are, right? We are on the system with the user role. He is the local administrator, I guess. So let's do some normal post-exploitation overview of what we have here, where we are. Let's cd to c Windows temp. Okay. We don't have access, right? So we are administrator, but we are not a local system. So we have to escalate to do that. And unfortunately, there is no publicly known local privilege escalation exploit for that. So let's see what we can do. First of all, let's see what we can do with the system overall, right? So system commands are like this. We of course can execute a command. Yeah, this is really important. We can kill a process, right? This is really very important once we like spread our influence, and we have to keep it low profile. We have to kill some things we run on the background, and we can modify the register right from here, right? But the registry is a well-documented thing, and you can do from the command line once you execute a CMD shell by execute, for example, right? So let's see how to do that. So let's just see what are possible options for execute. So remember that without this -i, you will just create a process. It won't be interactive. Like execute calc exe. Okay. Oh, you have to put -f in order to specify the executable command, right? So this is also important. But if we run it, we just run it. So it's now in PS somewhere, right? Where is it? Here we have CMD. It should be running as a user, right? So is it running at all? Yeah, it is. So we have calculator popping up, but I can't really see it in PS output. Ah, here it is. Okay, so with this new software distribution model in Microsoft Windows, it's not really clear where calculator comes from. Previously, it's been somewhere in Windows directory. Now it isn't. So let's just kill it, right? Okay, here we are. No calculator. Okay, so this is what we do. But our ultimate goal is to get to a legitimate shell, right? In order to do things as we would do in Windows normally. to keep it very low profile and avoid any attention from system administrators. So for that, we will use CMD XZ, of course, and we will do it interactively. That's important. Okay, and we will make it hidden from the view of the current user, right? So it won't appear in this window the user is seeing on their monitor. Okay, so here we are. Is it visible? No, it's not. Okay, that's kind of cool already. So we still do not have access to this directory. Okay, so let's cd to user, for example, right? See what's there. A lot of different stuff. So we already can do something here, but as you saw in conboot demonstration, we can use legitimate commands to try to create some anchors for persistence, right? So there is this very multi-purpose tool that is going back to MS-DOS. So net is really useful when it comes to post-exploitation movements, and we of course can attempt to add a user, right, with a password, and most probably we will fail, right, because we don't have access, but still we can see what local group list is, right? So it's pretty default. Nothing custom has been added by system administrators, and I think net is what you do in order to add the user and then put it to some group, and then everything else has to be done interactively. There is not much. There is no enjoyment you can get, right? So it's not very pleasant to operate from this really cut in functionality tool, but there are things that are really interesting and efficient in the Windows world, and I will show you one of those. Most of you most probably are already familiar with the PowerShell, which is quite cool, and the worst and the best thing with the PowerShell is, depending on what's your perspective on the matter, is that it's virtually everywhere, and it's not really used much for legitimate purposes. Okay, so by default, Microsoft puts it in every Windows distribution. However, system administrators do not use it very much, right? So, but penetration testers do. Okay, so you can expect it to be present in any remote target system you compromise. So let's just do this. Okay, I'm not sure whether it's on my target machine, but it's installed from the distribution by default. Actually, it's upgraded from a previous version, but still I think some kind of PowerShell has to be present, and it is. Okay, so PowerShell is much more interesting in many ways. For example, in interactive mode, it has this auto-completion functionality. You will feel very comfortable if you are familiar with Linux or Mac OS command line.